What's good, YouTube? This is GoblinHands showcasing an update to Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Take flight, Blue Eyes White Dragon, rise!
So, along with the original Blue Eyes White Dragons, we do have Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon and the White Stone of Legend.
Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon! Blue Lightning!
This is the full Blue Eyes package. They're all searchable cards and recurable. White Stone isn't as essential right now, but it's still a very powerful engine regardless. And in addition to Blue Eyes, we do have a small little Chaos package right here. One copy of Chaos Emperor, the Dragon of Armageddon. This card allows you to add one of your banished dragons from your banished pile to your hand, as well as summon itself as a free level 8 body, so you can go into Hope Harbinger, Titanic Galaxy. Chaos Dragon the Pioneer can revive your White Stone of Legend, however it can also rip an opponent's card out of their hand or destroy 2 cards, so it's extremely useful. And we do have one copy of Arch Nemesis and Shadows. This card can actually hurt any deck pretty much that sticks to one monster type, so zombies, dragons, you name it. As long as you know what you're playing against, you could go ahead and search this card, summon it by banishing a Winged Beast, Dragon, and maybe your Halka Fibrax or a Sea Serpent or something. And then you could go ahead and completely wreck any deck. So it can't be destroyed by card effects either, and yeah, it's definitely searchable by Melody. So very powerful card indeed. Its level is kind of high, so it's not searchable by everything. We do have one copy of Galactic Spiral Dragon. So this card is the card that I usually would dump with Dragon Ravine. However, we usually use Dragon Ravine for something else in the deck, so this might be your follow-up play. Or if you have a few extra cards in your hand, you could turn an extra monster body on the field into that Hope Harbinger. And then for a smaller Chaos Dragon package, we do have Starleaf Safer, Black Dragon, Collapse Serpent, and the White Dragon River Burster. So these are the baby Chaos Dragons. Pretty standard for any Dragon Link deck. You could use multiple Safers if you want. The normal summon in this deck isn't actually necessary, so it might be a good idea, but I am cutting the cards to a minimum just to get the Dragunity cards more often. So. And then we do have 3 copies of Nocto Vision Dragon. So this card replaces itself with a free draw. Any of your Striker Dragon or LP, whenever it's summoned, suddenly that card becomes alive. So very easy to use. We do have the Dragunity monsters. So this is the main one, Dragunity Remus. So this card, if you draw it, you can discard it in order to add a Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. And then you could go ahead and activate that Ravine, discard any card from your hand, or your Dragunity Legatus. So these are both the new Dragunity cards. And then we do have one copy of this just because it could be kind of a bricky without the other Dragunity cards. And we do have a few other cards in here. We have one copy of Dragunity Arma Mistletoe. So this card is what you would add later on in the combo with the new Dragunity Glow. And then we do have one copy of Mist Valley Baby Rock. So this is a extra extender. Whenever you summon your Gator, you could add this to your hand and then discard it. It could miss the timing, so you got to be careful not to discard it with Dragon Ravine. And that's pretty much it for the Dragunity package. We do have a small rocket engine, one Silver Rocket Dragon and one Rocket Tracer. With quick launch, you always have your access to World Savage Dragon, but yeah, this is mostly a Dragunity engine deck, so that's why I have a small engine of each of these cards. And then we do have one Amorphage Sloth and one Chamber Dragon Maid, as well as Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. So your Sloth and your Darkness Metal, you don't really want to see them in your opening hand. However, you could still summon them to their field. Red Eyes has its own effect that could banish any dragon you control to summon it, of course. However, both of these could be summoned by Romulus if you summon a Dark Dragon Exceed monster underneath Romulus. And Chamber Dragon Maid, you can run in multiples, just like the Safer. However, yeah, I'm cutting it to 1 just because you do want to see your Dragunity cards a little bit more. But you do have access to the full Dragon Maid package in this deck, pretty much. And to wrap things up, we do have 3 copies of Deep Sea Diva. It's pretty much a 1-card Kriston Halka Fibrax, and it's self-contained, unlike any of the other combos. But yeah, this is a very good card to open up with for your normal summon. I would definitely go into this before going into your Dragonities because you do get locked into dragons. So yeah, you definitely want to use Deep Sea Deeper before that. Moving on to spell cards, we do have the Dragonity package, 3 copies of Ravine, 1 copy of Glow, and 1 copy of Terraforming. So with Ravine and Terraforming, if you open this card, then you could make your Dragonity combo, but instead of opening up Remus, it just requires 1 extra card. So it'd be, instead of 1.5 cards, it'd be 2.5 cards. However, it does add a lot of consistency into the deck. And also, let's say if you draw your Ravine, you still have 1 more in the deck to search. Now, Glow, you have 1 just because if you open it, it's fine. However, you do want to Ravine more often than Glow, so yeah. Glow also has an extra effect. You can banish it to special summon an equipped dragon, which does come up. It's very important to have that access to that. And then moving on, we do have a quick launch at 3. There's no reason to not use this in Dragon Link. In fact, you could use it in other non-dragon decks just to add Warlord Savage Dragon. However, it works really well in Dragon Links because those dragons are not bricks if you do draw them. So yeah, it's very useful. We do have the Blue Eye spell in here, the Melody of Awakening Dragon. This could add any of your large Chaos Dragons, your Blue Eyes White Dragon, your Alternative, even the Arch Nemesis at Shadows. Very useful card. It's not a hard once per turn. Extremely powerful. And we do have 2 copies of Chaos Space. I cut it at 2 just because it is a hard once per turn. However, it does have a lot of use. It's good to discard because you do get an extra draw, and it also searches your baby Chaos Dragons normally. However, you do want to focus on the Dragonity package instead of Chaos one when you have the opportunity. 1 copy of Blue Sector Launch just because it's a free card for the most part. However, it does offer some recovery plays. If you go into Saryuja, for example, and then your opponent has more monsters than you, you could still summon those rocket monsters. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then we do have 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. Pretty much the best second card in the deck. You could break almost any board with this card alone. So yeah, it's extremely powerful. Good against Tri-Brigade, good against Drytrons because you can negate the Herald. And then if you actually negate that, they only have their hand effects. So yeah, it's pretty good. And then we do have 1 copy of Called by the Grave. So this card basically ensures that your Dragonity cards go through so you don't get ashed. However, it is at 1, so unfortunately. Moving on to traps, we have 3 copies of Dragonmaid Tiding. You could use 2 if you want, but if you draw, it's really good to discard because you do go into your Dragonmaid either way for the most part in this deck. So yeah, it's a really powerful card. Any interruption, even without the Dragonmaid card, you could just return any of your dragons to the hand, and it's not affected by the Dark Ruler No More. So yeah, it's pretty strong. Moving on to the extra deck monsters, we do have 1 copy of Striker Dragon and 2 copies of Guard Dragon Fisty. So Striker's at 1, you have no choice but to use it. However, I try and wait before I summon Striker Dragon immediately. The reason why is because if you notice their arrows, you do need 2 arrows pointing to the same zone, and it just so happens that the original formation of that is still possible with these 2 monsters. There's not really any other good Link 1 dragons, so you do want to be careful when summoning your Striker Dragon. You don't have LP anymore either. So, however, Guard Dragon Fisty is a hard once per turn, but you could run more. You can go ahead and summon your neck. Returning to that, you could also use 2 copies of Dragonity Knight Romulus and 2 copies of Hieratic Seal, the Heavenly Spheres. Enough dragons to link summon. Like, let's say you bring out another Fisty, you don't want to be locked into only dragons, so you can turn those into Hieratic Seal or Dragonity Knight Romulus. So I think it's very useful to have multiple copies of at least one of those. And then we do have 1 copy of Saryuja. So you also have Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess. However, I find Saryuja especially useful in Blue Eyes because you could cycle those Blue Eyes White Dragons that you search back into the deck and draw a bunch of cards. It's extremely useful in the deck with its arrows pointing down. You can turn that Fisty very live, very easy. And yeah, it's pretty useful to have because sometimes Fisty does lock you into dragons. So. And then you could summon your Blue Eyes from your hand as well with its effect. 1 Appaloosa. Usually I summon this with Kriston Halqifibrax because your Dragonity does lock you into dragons. So having the option is nice though. But yeah, just be warned, a lot of times you won't have access to this on your first turn, which is why it's a good follow-up card for your next turn. So we have 1 copy of number 38, Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, and Hieratic Dragon King of Atum. So this card protects your hieratic seal as well as your monster that is summoned off of hieratic seal. It's very useful. Plus it can negate spell. And because of all the level 8, it's extremely powerful and easy to make in a deck. And then 1 copy of Hieratic Dragon King of Atum. So this card is the original LP. I used to use Hieratics a long time ago, but yeah, this card is extremely good. You can make it with your Mistletoe and your Gaydirk, and then you can summon the classic Red Eyes Darkness Metal, or your Safer, or your Whitestone of Legend, or your Dragon Maid. So many different targets. And then we do have 1 copy of Dragunity Knight Gaydirk. So this card, the very first one you want to add is usually the Baby Rock. However, you can add your Dragon Maid card from your deck to your hand and discard it, and now suddenly you have access to your Dragon Maid engine. You could also add Whitestone of Legend. Say for pretty much any of your weaker dragons you could add to your hand, so it's extremely useful. And then we do have 1 copy of Warlord Savage and 1 copy of Blue Eye Spirit Dragon. So these are generally the last few cards you want to end on with your board, especially Warlord Savage. By the time you activate Rocket Tracer's effect, you'll be locked into Darks. So after Dragons and Darks, this is the last one of those cards you want to summon. However, Blue Eye Spirit's still pretty good in the deck with the Whitestone of Legend, giving you 3 Blue Eyes for days. Alright, and then moving on to side deck, we do have 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, 1 copy of Red Reboot, and 3 copies of Evenly Matched. So this blows out most back row decks. However, Evenly has a double-edged sword because you can blow out your opponent's monsters as well. So extremely good. It hits like Eldritch, a bunch of other decks, and just banishes them. It's a very powerful card. Hopefully we'll get a nice reprint someday that's a little bit more affordable, but yeah, you definitely want to have access to this card. And Red Reboot completely wrecks trap decks, so you could get away with, if your opponent has Solemn Strike, your monsters don't get negated, so yeah, it's very useful. And then moving on for other monsters, we have 3 copies of Artifact Lancia. This hurts Drytron, however it also hurts Dinosaur and Trap Grade, so it's very useful hand trap this format. But I am putting it aside just because you never know what you're going to play against. If you find that it might be better to main, go for it. And we do have 3 copies of Gadarla, the Mystery Dust Kaiju. So this card is really good against Tri-Brigade because they summon the Barrier Statue of the Stormwinds. You can just tribute over that and now you can play, so pretty cool. And then we do have a few more cards. We have 3 copies of Nibiru, the Primal Being. So this card is pretty good against Virtual World and combo decks, maybe like Dragon, for example. But it's not as good this format, so that's why I have it in the side. However, you could use whatever hand trap you want. You could use DD Crow. It's very powerful this time because of Sky Striker, Mobilize, Engage, as well as Ben 10 being limited to 1. If you have either one of those cards, then you pretty much completely ruin their strategy. So DD Crow is actually really good in the deck. Also, it's a wing boost, so pretty good. And then we do have 1 copy of Koikimaru Draco. So this card locks your opponent into non-light or dark monsters. So if you're playing against Eldritch, there are traps, as well as the Eldritch monster is light. And it's also good against most decks, honestly, because they summon light and dark. Just Tri-Brigade and maybe Virtual World because they're wind or other attributes. So that's why it's in the side. However, it's good to have access to. Alright, and that's pretty much it for the profile. But I'll go ahead and do a combo video right now.
Go White Lightning Attack!
Okay, so let's go ahead and do a 3-card combo. So this is pretty much Dragon Ravine and any 2 cards in your deck. You don't need any other graveyard effects or anything, so I'm just going to use Blue Eyes White Dragons just for the sake of this video. Usually you open up with a bunch of other cool cards that interact in your graveyard, giving you more plays. However, if you do open either Dragon Ravine or your Remus, which is even better, this card is 3 cards, or with Remus it's 2 cards. So I call it a 2.5 card combo. So anyways, you go ahead and activate your Dragon Ravine, and then with Ravine you go ahead and discard one of your cards in order to add your Dragunity Remus from your deck to your hand. And then you go ahead and discard your Dragunity Remus in order to add another copy of Dragon Ravine from your deck to your hand. You can go ahead and activate it, And then you go ahead and discard your final card in order to add a Dragoonity Legatus from your deck to your hand. Because you control a Dragoonity spell card or a Dragon Ravine, you can go ahead and special summon Legatus. And now that you control a Dragoonity monster, you can go ahead and special summon your Remus from your graveyard. And because you do so, you're locked into dragons for the rest of the turn as far as your extra deck goes. So it's important to note that if you open up with your Deep Sea Diva, for example, you want to start with that instead of your Dragoonity cards. So go ahead and Synchro Summon using both of these. Your Remus is going to be banished, so keep that in mind. In order to summon your Dragoonity Knight Gaydurg. So when Gaydurg's summoned, you get to add any level 4 or lower dragon or winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. And then you get to discard another dragon or winged beast monster from your deck or from your hand. So it could actually be anything else. If you open up your Baby Rock, that's fine. That's as long as you have access to your Dragon Ravine, you're good. But anyways, for now, we're going to go ahead and add the Mist Valley Baby Rock to our hand and then discard it as the very last thing so it doesn't miss the timing. And because we have a winged beast and a dragon, we can go ahead and link summon into our Dragoonity Knight Romulus. Unfortunately, it does have a hard once per turn for all of its effects, but we could still use its main effect to add the Dragoonity spell from our deck to our hand, Dragoonity Glow. So when Dragoonity Glow is activated, you can go ahead and add a level 5 or higher Dragoonity monster from your deck to your hand. So we'll go ahead and add Dragoonity Arma Mistletoe, which can be special summoned by tributing the Dragoonity Knight Romulus. And when it is summoned, you could also equip a Dragoonity monster to it from the graveyard. Now, Dragoonity Glow has an extra effect. You can banish it in order to special summon an equipped Dragoonity monster. And because you just summoned Gaydurg again, you get to use its effect one more time. So we'll go ahead and add Chamber Dragon Maid from our deck to our hand and discard it. Or if you already opened up Chamber Dragon Maid, you could add something else from your deck to your hand and then discard it. So it's pretty useful to have that. And then we'll go ahead and overlay those two into Hieratic Dragon King of Atum. You can put it in defense just in case you're worried about Lightning Storm. It still has 2100 defense, so pretty beefy. And then you could go ahead and detach the Gaydurg for easy access for later on if you have extenders, in order to summon your Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon from the deck. So this is an old combo for Hieratics back in the day. However, it does work still now. And I find Red Eyes Darkness Metal a little bit better than the Dragon Maid Nurse, just because there's so many other dragon cards. If you open up with Darkness Metal, it's not the worst thing, you know. You could still have an extender. And with Darkness Metal, you're going to want to revive your Chamber Dragon Maid. That will give you access to your Tiding from your deck. And then now you can go ahead and link any of these dragons into your Hieratic Seal. Go ahead and link those two for Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. And the reason why you do that is because your Atum might actually be able to activate its effect next turn and get you more dragons from your deck. And also your Red Eyes is weak, it's at 0 attack and defense. Your Chamber Dragon Maid still has utility in the graveyard too. However, yeah, you're going to go ahead and set Dragon Maid Tiding, and then on your opponent's turn, you can go ahead and activate it simply by returning any of your dragons to your hand. So if you want, you could actually link the Atum away and keep your Chamber Dragon Maid on the field. That way you'd bounce it. However, when your Dragon Maid Chiding is in the graveyard, you could banish it to resummon it from the graveyard anyways. So usually you have other cards that you want to return, like Chaos Dragon the Pioneer, and then return one of your opponent's cards. Also, you could summon anything from your deck with Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres by interrupting your opponent as well. So yeah, it's pretty useful. But yeah, this card is pretty cool because Hieratic Seal, you could actually bounce your Ravine to your hand if you really wanted to, and then this you'd have to bounce a monster. But yeah, it's a pretty cool little 2.5 or 1.5 card combo. Yeah, you'd want to return that to the graveyard in order to summon a Morphage Sloth. So that will go ahead and completely wreck your opponent. But yeah, if you want to see any other further combos, the deck can easily go into number 38, Titanic Galaxy, to protect your Sloth with just a few more cards. And yeah, usually you have so many more extensions in the deck. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Let me know if you want to see Dragon combos or Dark Magician I'm working on. I'll see you guys next time. Happy dueling.
I'll consider it if you win the duel.
Oh, I'll beat you all right.
I never said I would duel. There is your opponent. He's an old friend who's dying to see you again. He met with an unfortunate end earlier today, but he's come back just to duel you.
What are you saying?
Kaiba!
Yes, Yugi. It's me, Kaiba. And this time you don't stand a ghost of a chance.